ozone layer and its depletion. Ozone contains 3 oxygen atoms. About 90% of atmospheric ozone is contained in the stratospheric ozone layer, which is approximately 15 to 35 kilometers above Earth. The ozone layer acts as a protective shield around the Earth, protecting us from harmful ultraviolet radiation emitted by the sun. Even though ozone is present only in very small amounts in the atmosphere compared to other gases, it is vital to human well-being as well as agricultural and ecosystem sustainability. The ozone layer absorbs a large part of the high-energy ultraviolet B or UVB radiation emitted by the sun. If the UVB is not absorbed, it would reach Earth's surface in amounts that are harmful to a variety of life forms. In humans, increased exposure to UVB radiation increases the risk for both skin cancer and eye cataracts and suppresses the immune system. Moreover, the increase in UVB radiation at the Earth's surface would also adversely affect terrestrial plant life, including agricultural crops, animals, aquatic ecosystems, and reduce the useful lifetime of many materials. Introduction to the Montreal Protocol and substances that deplete the ozone layer. In the mid-1970s, scientists discovered that chemicals containing chlorine and bromine atoms released by human activities could cause stratospheric ozone depletion. It became clear that the growing production and use of chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, and some other halogen source gases were the cause of the unnatural ozone depletion. In early 1980s, scientists found that there is depletion of ozone extended over a large region centered near the South Pole, happening in late winter, early spring. The term ozone hole came about as a description of the very low values of total ozone that encircles the Antarctic continent for many weeks each September and October. Consequently, governments around the world agreed to protect the ozone layer by establishing the Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer in 1985 and decided to take measures through the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in 1987. The Montreal Protocol provides a set of obligations for each country to phase out ozone-depleting substances in a practical and actionable manner through controls on the production and consumption of controlled substances. The Vienna Convention and its Montreal Protocol has been ratified by every member state of the United Nations. It was the first international treaty to gain universal ratification and is regarded as one of the most successful international treaties of all time. Montreal Protocol's contribution to climate protection. With the successful implementation of the Montreal Protocol, 99% of the ozone-depleting substances, or ODSs, controlled under the protocol have been phased out and markets have been transitioning to non-ODS alternatives. Ozone depletion levels have been stabilized, and the return of Antarctic ozone levels to 1980 values is expected to occur around 2060. In addition to their ozone-depleting potential, or ODP, many ODSs are also potent greenhouse gases that are hundreds or thousands of times more potent than carbon dioxide. Their reduction has had an additional benefit to combating climate change. Further, the most widely used alternatives, hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs, and their blends are also potent greenhouse gases. Their reduction through the Kigali Amendment will provide substantial climate benefits. In 2016, the parties to the Montreal Protocol decided to extend its framework to control these global warming HFCs through its Kigali Amendment. This is equivalent to about 2 times the greenhouse gas emissions produced annually by the entire world. The Kigali Amendment will avoid more than 70 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions by 2050, avoiding up to 0.4 degrees Celsius of global warming by the end of the century, while continuing to protect the ozone layer. Main uses and applications of ODSs and HFCs. Refrigerant for refrigeration and air conditioning equipment, mobile air conditioning and heat pumps. Foam blowing agent for production of polyurethane or PU foam and extruded polystyrene or XPS foam. solvents for cleaning, such as carbon tetrachloride, methyl chloroform, fire extinguishing agents, such as halons, fumigant for pest control, such as methyl bromide, aerosol propellants, Montreal Protocol control measures and institutes implementing them. The Montreal Protocol requires each country to establish and implement a system for licensing the import and export of controlled substances, whether those are single substances or mixtures and blends. Each country also has the obligation to report statistical data on its production and consumption to the Ozone Secretariat on an annual basis. The Montreal Protocol sets reduction targets for developed and developing countries and established a financial mechanism called the Multilateral Fund to assist developing countries for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. The Multilateral Fund supports developing countries to stop production of controlled substances and convert their manufacturing lines into ozone and climate-friendly substitutes, thereby reducing the supply of the controlled substances and equipment reliant on them. It also provides technical and policy assistance to develop and enforce national policies or regulations, build capacity of various stakeholders, and raise public awareness. Since 1991, the Multilateral Fund has received over $4 billion in contributions and has been supporting 145 countries in their implementation of the Montreal Protocol. Each country has a focal ministry to help coordinate their compliance with the Montreal Protocol. National Ozone Unit, or NOU, takes care of the day-to-day operations of managing national programs to implement the Montreal Protocol. Compliance is achieved through countries enforcing their national licensing and quota systems to manage annual production, import, and export of the controlled substances, as well as other national programs and legislation. The role of Customs Authority and other national agencies. Various government ministries and agencies play important roles in policy development and enforcement for Montreal Protocol implementation, with the NOU coordinating amongst them. Most countries import ODSs and HFCs, thus international trade and customs procedures play an essential role in monitoring their consumption and complying with the Montreal Protocol. Customs authorities have a key role in enforcing the licensing system as well as preventing illegal trade that might lead the country into non-compliance. Furthermore, authorities in charge of occupational safety, labor protection, and/or environment protection can play a vital role in enforcing national regulations to ensure the safe transfer, storage, and use of controlled substances and flammable or toxic refrigerant alternatives. They can also ensure the proper servicing and maintenance of equipment that use these substances. Authorities in charge of supervising trade in the local market can support with monitoring and inspections to identify violations and illegal trade. The refrigeration and air conditioning sector. The refrigeration and air conditioning sector uses the majority of HCFCs and HFCs since at least 2015 compared to other sectors. It is critical to devote more efforts in this sector as it is expected to grow in the upcoming years. Most of the controlled substances are used as refrigerants in refrigeration and air conditioning equipment, including mobile air conditioners. Economic growth, urbanization, and the expansion of the middle class are the key factors driving cooling sector growth in developing countries to meet the needs of space cooling, cold chain, and industrial processes, including safeguarding our well-being and health by keeping medicines and vaccines cool. In particular, a study shows that lack of an effective cold chain is estimated to directly result in losses of 475 million tons, or 13% of total food production globally, enough to feed approximately 950 million people. The cold chain plays a key role to food security and ending hunger and poverty, which is one of the key sustainable development goals. The cold chain system could include refrigerated transportation of harvested products, cold storage, processing, and retail. The cold chain system can help to ensure that farm products reach markets in good condition and minimize food loss. In 2019, 82 parties to the Montreal Protocol endorsed the Rome Declaration on the contribution of the Montreal Protocol to food loss reduction through sustainable cold chain development at the 31st meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol in Rome. In the rack servicing sector, all technicians should follow good servicing practices to reduce refrigerant usage and minimize refrigerant leakage, and enhance and/or maintain rack equipment operational efficiency that will reduce the overall energy consumption and the environmental impact. Competency of rack servicing technicians. Due to the phase-out of ODSs and the future phase-down of HFCs, chemical and physical characteristics of refrigerants used in the market is evolving. New alternatives have different properties, such as flammability, toxicity, or higher working pressure. RAC technicians need to be competent on good servicing practices to ensure proper management and safe handling of these new alternatives. Guidelines for technicians should be strictly followed. RAC servicing technicians need to be properly trained on the different characteristics and safe handling of these substances, and also use servicing tools suited for each type of substance. Next steps of the Montreal Protocol, Kigali HFC implementation plans. Public awareness is also important for Montreal Protocol implementation. When stakeholders, including the public, understand the role and scope of the NOU's work, they will be more likely to support the NOU's activities, becoming a foundation for Montreal Protocol implementation and climate action. Impact of end users. With our choices, we all have an impact on the environment. We can contribute to a better environment by choosing ozone and climate-friendly products such as refrigeration and air conditioning appliances that are more energy efficient and have lower GWP refrigerants. The Montreal Protocol has already led the recovery of the ozone layer and helped mitigate climate change. With everyone's action, together we can contribute more to pursuing sustainable development goals.